Number 12. In general, searching online for health information can be valid, eye-opening, educational, and even useful. While many doctors roll their eyes when they hear, "I did my research," from a patient, sometimes that research can be sound. If a patient has a rare disease and presents articles about it, many of us will be grateful that we were saved some extra work. But the web becomes entangled when sites angled with opinions, personal anecdotes, exaggeration, and false claims manipulate the navigator to believe what is posted. People also run into trouble when looking for information online based on preconceived notions. Here comes the curse of the original belief. If you believe that megadosing on vitamin C will prevent colds, you will seek out and easily find sites promoting this notion. If you think that juice cleanses are the way to better health and well-being, it's easy to find websites supporting this. If delaying vaccines is your cup of tea, online sources abound. If you're debating whether to eat only organic food, plenty of available information will support this. Number 13. Beethoven himself raised the cash to visit Vienna at the age of 16, in the hope of persuading Mozart to give him lessons. Of an actual meeting with Mozart, there is no evidence outside the fields of romantic biography. But he did, or so it seems, hear Mozart play, and complained of the choppiness of his style, a description which has to be matched against Mozart's own statement that his piano music was meant to flow like oil. Yet Beethoven may well have been right. Mozart, for all his youthfulness, already had such crookedly arthritic fingers that observers remarked on his inability to cut his meat. If Beethoven had been able to prolong his stay in Vienna, he would surely have met Mozart in the end. But a summons home to his mother's deathbed prevented his persistence from being put to the test. Number 14. It appears that Internet customers rarely secure the lowest price. According to a popular price comparison website, 80% of Internet customers pay more than they have to. It seems that use of the Internet to obtain better value is restrained by loyalty to particular websites. Once they are familiar with a site, consumers may return to it later because it is easy to use and saves time. A consumer might agree that a book might be cheaper elsewhere, but still use the online bookstore they're familiar with because of convenience. This convenience can be seen as considerable, as often customers allow trusted sites to store their credit card and delivery details, so purchasing really is a single click. Similarly, buyers normally use one online grocer because of the trouble of getting to know another site. In short, habits take over. Number 15. Findings from several studies on non-patient groups, such as university students, suggest that simply looking at everyday nature, as compared to built scenes that lack nature, is significantly more effective in promoting restoration from stress. One early study focused on students who were experiencing mild stress because of a final course exam. A self-ratings questionnaire was used to assess restorative influences of viewing either a diverse slide example of unblighted built settings lacking nature, or slides of undistinguished nature settings dominated by green vegetation. Results suggested that the nature views fostered greater psychological restoration, as indicated by larger reductions in negative feelings, such as fear and anger, aggression, and much higher levels of positive feelings. Also, the scenes with vegetation sustained interest and attention more effectively than did the urban scenes without nature. Number 16. Leonardo da Vinci had a keen interest in the reality and the wonders of nature as a broad and dynamic whole. The subject matter of his inspired paintings was almost more wondrous than reality. Da Vinci was also deeply curious about the small details that might be able to explain the human perceived wonders he painted. This can be readily seen both in his drawings of anatomical structures in biology and his refined representations of mechanical structures in physics. He published amazingly detailed drawings of human anatomy, where, as one biographer noted, he paid attention to the forms of even very small organs and hidden parts of the skeleton. Da Vinci is even credited with being the first in the modern world to introduce the idea of controlled experimentation, the core concept of science, and for this he has been considered by some writers to be the father of science. Probably more than any other scholastic luminary of that time, he recognized the relationship between the whole and its parts. Number 17. Many traditional sports remain important elements of contemporary national sporting cultures. Sumo, despite recent image problems, remains immensely popular and important in Japan. Similarly, sepak takraw and combat sports like Muay Thai, Silat, and Arnis remain permanent fixtures of Southeast Asia's sporting landscape. In many cases, however, what are commonly assumed to be traditional sporting practices actually represent hybrid amalgamations of traditional games and imported sporting values and practices. Judo, for instance, dates from only 1882 and was developed as a modernization of traditional styles of jiu-jitsu. Similarly, Muay Thai adopted the ring, system of rounds, gloves, and weight divisions after concerns about high levels of death and injuries during the early 20th centuries, while sepak takraw took its current form in the 1930s, with the addition of a net and court, adopted from badminton to the traditional pastime of kicking a rattan ball. Number 18. Although mobile healthcare network (MHN) applications provide numerous opportunities and benefits, they raise various security and privacy issues. Since the health information, e.g. phenomena, health condition, emergency, is relatively sensitive for users, any inappropriate disclosure may violate user privacy and even result in property loss. Users may also worry about their critical health data being tampered with when their health data are stored in the untrusted cloud servers. Moreover, some malicious attackers misbehave in MHNs to disrupt the effectiveness or mislead other users' preferences. Without appropriate security and privacy protections, users may not accept MHN applications. Number 19. I remember as a student going to a speed reading course of the type that was in vogue in the 1970s. We were led to believe that you could train your eye and brain to take in whole blocks of text, scores of words at a time, and that reading word by word was primitive and inefficient. It was the course that was a waste of time, however. The idea that you can take in the full meaning of large numbers of words in a single glance has been shown to be wrong. Yes, you can quickly understand the main point of a whole block of text at a single glance, and you can race through a book, getting a pretty good idea of what the author is saying. But the faster you go, the more you miss. So if friends boast that they can read thick novels in an afternoon, test them on what they remember of the details. You probably can gather the plot by racing through a novel, but you'll miss much of the subtleties of the language, the scenes, and the narrative.